concern
Yes.
around the issue of development of the Black People Party.
Yes.
So if you say it must be done tomorrow, you know that we have got the challenges of resources.
You're setting up yourself.
Yes. So now we are putting this time frame because when I grew up, there was no water in this area where I was. Where I grew up, there was no electricity. And even still today, until the ruling party, which is African National Congress, got into power and prioritized the rural areas. It's a fact. You know, during the apartheid time, there was no housing that was built in rural areas by government. It started with this current government to say, don't only build the townships and put those men that are working and you arrest women when they are going to their husband. And then said, we'll develop the cities, we'll develop the rural areas. And mind you, if you know about the Group Areas Act, where the Black people were put in the mountainous areas or the areas that are not suitable for even plantation. So if you say you can do it tomorrow, it will be really not factual and not true. The long time is to say that Honorable Tembe, this is the opportunity now. We are in the legislature. We must drive this thing, and it must go to the grand politics. Because most of the time, if we talk about development, even when people coming from overseas coming here, we'll show them their back. We can't take them there in Nagiti and Kanyami. We can't take them So one of the things is that the previous regime focused only in towns together. Rural areas was left in towns, and it's the majority led that need to be developed in rural areas. You can't have money that can be in a short space of time. There is a short term when you plan all the time. You have got short plan, things that you can do now. You have got medium term, things that is little bit, and then long term. Like the issue of the economy, that is you can't tomorrow find the blacks like us live now in the majority economy. Because the way it was coined by the apartheid government, they coined it in a way that it will be difficult to break.
For me, I think also adding to what the chairperson is saying, I think saying 2063, it's also trying to be realistic. In the sense that development cannot happen overnight.
Yes.
There are so many issues that need to be addressed. Historical imbalances with the chairperson is saying, and other structural imbalances that were caused by apartheid and also colonialism. Remember, colonialism was a very protracted struggle and institution. I'm going to add. Listen. So the issue is also about setting up realistic goals and timelines so that we don't disappoint and we don't appear as if we're just throwing out numbers there. Secondly, we are doing the climate change thing and they're saying we're talking about sustainable development, where we're saying let's conserve the environment for the benefit of the future. Going on to your question saying why 2063, I will then ask you, why are we saving the environment when I know that I won't be there in 2063? Why can I not just be selfish? Enjoy myself, exploit resources as I want. I don't care about those who are going to come behind. So it's a call that even if when you're not going to be there in 2063, as a KZN legislature MBO, you should now champion to make sure that when they are talking about the goals that have been achieved for Agenda 2063 in 2063, and I'm not in existence, my name should be mentioned that I was part and parcel of the team that made sure that this agenda is now realized, and I'm enjoying it in 2063, but they've long gone. We're talking about Nkosazana Zuma. She left the AU way back, but her name is still being mentioned when it comes to women's issues, that she was a champion. Apparently, when this agenda was drafted, the letter to draft this agenda was drafted by Nkosazana Zuma. So you see, we're going to talk about her in 2063. If she's not there, her name will still be mentioned that she was the AU chairperson who signed the letter to the heads of states, asking them to meet and discuss on how we can draft the agenda. Right. So I think I've answered. So we said they've got 7 aspirations.
Not achieve what you can achieve before that.
Yes. You can also achieve that. We've got overachievers who can make sure that they can achieve anything in 2 years. Well, it's a blessing. We all probably might not have. Some of us, we are last minute, would want to achieve it in 2062.
It's not one to pay by 2027 we have achieved.
Yes.
No matter what the obstacles are. And it was a 50 years timeline that we achieved, because this agenda 2063 was set in 2013. Yes.
All right. So let's look what are the aspirations. Anyone who can list the aspirations of Agenda 2067 aspirations out of head, it's fine. You can guess. It's okay. We'll then look at them in detail.
Is the 7 aspirations?
Yes. Let's just guess. It's okay. I will accept guesswork even Google.
7 aspirations.
You can give one.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, he says economic development and integration of the continent. We'll see about that. Anyone else? Okay, say women representation. Who else?
Peace
Peace and conflict.
and
Okay. Hello, let me do it this way. Let's just do it this way. We've got 1, 2, 3 teams. Write your aspirations as a team. What do you aspire for Africa in the next year? I want to see what if your aspirations will then.
colleagues.
Yes. Let's just do it in 3 minutes. At 11:50, we then share. In 3 minutes.
That's true. Eventually. Ishana basinze ukangala ukuthi abantu abathile society it's not there to make yazi mhlawumbe umuntu asise was not vele kusifundayo ngisho engathi ngijabule ikwazi ukwenza yeah. Ngangihlanganisa nazo ngenza ushulekela kustangalisa angithi ngoba uyenza futhi ukuthi phephese sometimes 180,000 seyanyuka 160 phephese. Mina kubuka ngizophephese ngapho lelo level engaqhamuka nemali esizilana engizathatha ngidivide umuphephese 1 million uma ngidivide ngeke ibe inkulu ngoba umuntu unikwe 180,000 ngisazoyenza kule esisayiniwe nangiyenze ngenye yezinto ngisaphekwa second
Right. So which group is prepared first? Okay, it's fine. Let's hear the aspirations of this group. Let's listen, guys.
Okay, I think ours would probably be the same as everyone, but the first is gender equality, poverty eradication, peace and comfort, economic development, free trade, in brackets, integration of the continent, security, unity, preservation of nature, environment, just under the ban of climate change, and all of it being sustainable development.
Okay. Yeah. But the top. Okay, Philip, that's it. Are you ready? Yes, this is the aspiration.
We've got 5 from the group. Number 1 is women leadership in high positions in all aspects. 2 is health and realization of adequate housing. 3 is rural development and infrastructure development. 4, improved transport system. 5, free GBVF society. Thank you.
They're now on 6.
Thank you. We've got 4. 1 is job and decent work. 2, eradication of poverty, equality and hunger. 3 is gender equity in senior management positions. 4, empowerment and employment of disability people. Thank you.
So this is the Africa that we want. This is the Africa that we want. So you can actually tell at your point, there are so many issues that are similar that all the three groups have said, like issues of gender, issues of poverty, issues of peace, issues of free trade, issues of jobs, and then also issues of rural development. These are all similar cases that you have listed. Now, let's look at what the agenda aspirations are now, and then try and see if what we have written and presented as groups is also the same. And then you want to, if it's different, then you have to ask them, whose agenda did you write? Because in case that the things you listed are not even part of what they want. I want to see, let's see. Right. All eyes here. So aspiration number 1, it speaks of a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. We mentioned that, right? So we can actually say that it's part of the Agenda 2063's aspiration. Aspiration number 2, there's a group that mentioned about integration. An integrated continent, politically united and based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa Renaissance. So you can see we are covered with that one. Aspiration number 3, an Africa of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. I didn't hear any group say this. Yes. All right. I think you don't talk of good governance when people are poor, when people are hungry, or when people have got health problems. Right. I think you were mainly worried about bread, care stable, care of care. Want to testing. Hello.
Yes.
One meeting. Thank you. Right. So I think we didn't mention the issue of good governance and democracy. I was saying because we're more focused about bread and butter issues. You are focusing on issues that are affecting your local people. So I think then talking about good governance might be far-fetched when your people are poor, when your people are hungry, or when your people are facing gender-based violence. But it's also an aspiration. And then aspiration number 4, you talked about peace and security. It's also part of the aspiration, that aspiration number 4. And then aspiration number 5, in Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values and ethics. We've got Heritage Day. When is Heritage Day here? 24th of September. So our goal to as Africans, it is what we aspire. We don't want to lose our culture, our cultural identity and our heritage. So one of the aspirations of the agenda is to make sure that our cultures remain strong. Yes, we might have schools that now teach children European culture, but we should emphasize the idea of making sure that we don't lose our culture, we don't lose our heritage. And South Africa is doing a good job. That's why we've got so many museums that speaks about our culture, our history, and all that. I don't know, is it power or what? Yes, check. What about Yeah, thank you for the commission of action. Right. We also have good aspiration number 6. In Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and the youth, in caring for the children. Women again. For me, I think I'm right. So it also says that our development should be people-driven, in particular paying attention to the needs and demands of women, youth, and the caring for children. And then aspiration number 7. Africa is a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player. We want Africa to be the giant. Back then, Africa was known as the giant continent. But our aspiration is that by 2063, Africa should be a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player and partner. We have got the resources that other continents do not have. So we should try making use of those resources to develop our continent and make sure that we've got a better economy.
What is your take on the issue of the development institutions around this issue of development, because it's about economy development?
Yeah.
You see the Bretton Woods, which is from the West, most of those institutions, and then the African country together with Russia, the BRICS. Yeah, Brazil, Russia, China, and so on. Do you think on the issue of development and our vision, then at 2063, we're gonna achieve it? The BRICS was formed so that we can come together and also assist the African countries to develop their economy. I'm just saying that because the way one is looking at it, it's like it's difficult for us as African countries to really focus on BRICS at all, because we've got other treaties, economic treaties with other countries which are coming from the West. These are the countries that really colonized us as Africans. When we started, you say that what is common about Africa is that we are all colonized. And when we were colonized, we never got an opportunity to develop our economies because we were also during apartheid not allowed, and our education was value education. We were not allowed to do subjects or modules or dealing with visual economy and so on. Yeah, on that one. I'm just thinking what can be your view of the BRICS trying to contest Bretton institutions, because those particular banks that they are having, like what is this thing? When we borrow the money from the African countries, poor countries, we pay more. We pay more. We pay more than other developed countries because they say this. We are the
Right. This is my. I think you've got to say what's your view. So this is my view, and others can also chip in, and we can be able. We are discussing our agenda. We are all Africans.
Agenda, that something that can make us not implement our agenda. Because as we are saying, that you need the resources to deal with this.
Exactly.
Since the African states are borrowing money from the West, and now we have formed this alternative. I take it as an alternative, the BRICS. Do you think we will continue to be giving money to continue? What is our vision?
My thinking is that the BRICS, like any other person, they are doing what's beneficial to them. That's a real fact. So if they see that engaging with African countries is of benefit to them, they will pursue that relationship. Just as what they are doing, which is also what China is also doing, and also other global powerhouses are doing. What I think should be very important is that us as African countries, we should also be asking ourselves, which relationship benefits us as Africans in order to achieve our Agenda 2063. If I look at the BRICS, if I engage with BRICS, are we going to get a beneficial relationship from them, or it's going to be an exploitative relationship? So we should be asking ourselves those questions. So there's nothing wrong in African countries engaging with the BRICS or with the West or with China, as long as the relationship is beneficial and not exploitative. Because at the end of the day, we both need each other to be able to develop. But one person was saying, do you know that African countries have got resources? If we were to trade just amongst ourselves as Africans and not even send our resources further north or west, our country would be developed. But it's because we don't have the excuse to then say if we have got the gold, can it be processed in some of the African countries? If you look at countries like Uganda, they've got they plant coffee and whatever, but they have to send that coffee to Switzerland where chocolate is then made. Imagine if they could just make chocolates and complete them and then start selling the chocolate from Uganda to other countries. So I don't know.
The conditions that are being attached
Yes.
to African countries when they are borrowing money. You know, they are being exploited because when you look at the BRICS, and the aim of the BRICS was to say that we do not to exploit Canada. And when they put together, they indicate this country is going to invest so much, and then be in a position. But now, African countries, I'm saying this because whilst we want to pursue the freedom of economical freedom, at the same time, we have got debts that are huge from the MIM. You know, so that's why I'm thinking that whilst we want to pursue this, also, yes, but the debts that the African countries have and the conditions that are attached to those debts or those loans that they are being given as African countries. So I agree with you when you're saying, as a continent, we must, that's why here when we look at the promoting of the debate, is to say that let us push them to do trade among us, the African countries. Integration, yeah. But these conditions that are being,
So you raised a very important question that IMF and the World Bank, they are giving us loans, and these loans might act as an impediment for us to achieve Agenda 2063. What do you think then should be the best solution? Do we need to still keep on borrowing to IMF and the World Bank, or we should find alternative ways of funding our own development?
Yes, try and find, right? The problem that we are having is that we are deep in debt. And we are
We keep on.
No, we must not continue. And to me, if I was a trader,
Yes.
I would not borrow
From this organization.
from this Bretton
Institutes.
Yes. Because of these conditions that they attached to African countries and those developed world, they don't, world countries, they don't put those same conditions. Because they are saying we are a risk. You know, that's also when you apply in the bank, I was working in the bank, you apply for a loan. You want to develop in rural areas. There are so many conditions that are attached because you are a risk. So, you know, if you are being taken as a risk, even as a continent, we must, I think this thing, if they can implement it, because already in this agenda 2063, there is a direction to where let's move that direction. But we don't want it to move away from the West, you know, which have on this particular condition.
They say human beings don't change population. I agree with you because if you look at the impact of the structural adjustment programs that were implemented in the 90s, for me, it's one of the reasons why so many African countries are in debt and are also not developed, because we had to go and get those loans from IMF and World Bank. And some of the conditions that they were listed were so dire for the continent. For instance, I remember the IMF said, if you want loans for us, you should cut down on spending, you should cut subsidies, you should do with the health, with all social services, cut government subsidies on that, and then we can give you loan. The retrenchment of workers was also one of the conditions. So you see that some of us, or some of the countries in Africa, they are actually in deep trouble because of those laws which they got in 1991 or in the 90s. And it can also act as an impediment to achieve that in the 2063 because we are still paying these laws. It's like you are, you know, when you commit I don't know what you call it in your languages, when you kill someone from a different family. I don't know what you call it in your language. That person who has killed that person, there's a name that they give to that person that you've committed something, and we need to make sure that you appeal that family for that spirit not to keep on wanting it. I don't know the name of it. Yes. So it's more like for us Africans, we are keep on trying to pay that, but it's not getting away. The spirit is still following us.
Yeah, because the conditions we are saying, they can say cut the personnel
Yes.
as a country because they think, and also to say no, the unions because you know all those things. These are some of the conditions that make us as African countries to be backward because those conditions prevent you from development.
Yeah, because if you are saying retrenchment and the aspiration of our independent system is saying create employment for people, then what are we saying?
I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, it's a good thing this workshop happened because now we're beginning to understand some of the things and the pressures that are on the government. Most of the time, we look things at face value and say that these people are failing. But having said that, it needs a very strong will to get out of these things. You know, it's like a woman who stays with a husband who is abusing her and say that because he's feeding me, he's doing this and that, and you stay there, eventually you will die. You have to have a very strong will to get out of that toxic relationship. When you buy a car and it's really needed, as we are working in Parliament, you cannot be in Parliament without a car. They give you material or residual, whatever. You accept almost everything, not realizing that that residual is paying the car twice. So when African countries borrowed this money, their intention was to develop the people of their countries. And they calculated that if we get so much, we can do this and that. But they didn't read through the fine lines. Now, these organizations are dictating terms to the government. And it's becoming more and more difficult. But difficult as it is, I think African states should sit down and say, look now, we're in the deepest place of this pool. We need to pull each other and form a stream where we can one hold and another one, even if your feet are not grounded, are not on the ground of that pool, but you can float. If somebody pulls you this side and other one is pulling and pulling, you can float across that river without touching the ground. They need to come together and hold each other's hand and say, we are not going to borrow anymore.
Yes, let's borrow.
Let's see how we share. If you have got a bag of rice, I've got a can of cooking oil,
Yes.
and somebody else has got a bag of sugar, we can share. We can share. The debate and the dialogue now should be around sharing more than borrowing.
I think as she mentioned that I've got a bag of rice, it reminded me of what people back then used to do in Africa. There was barter trade. We didn't have currency. So someone would say, I've got a bucket of maize, but I want, think of example. They say, I want coffee from you. She says also, I want your maize. Then they barter traded. We could trade amongst ourselves as Africans. And life went on well. But we also need to realize that as soon as most African countries got their independence, our leaders, remember, they didn't have experience on how to run a country. They were coming from a liberation struggle where their mind was all they knew. Some of them, ever since they were born, is we need to fight the white men and gain our independence. So they never got any form of schooling on how to do administration or whatever. So they're just coming out from independence, and then you find someone saying, I'm ready to give you 200 million. For someone who is not experienced, I would always also put myself in that shoe. I might have said yes, give me the loan. Because I don't know, to me, it would seem as if it's something good. But only later, that's when they realize, you know what, this was a wrong move.
You know, they do the same purposely.
Yes.
Because whereby Ezuma is saying, yes, African countries, we have to, as a continent, we have to come together and try to reverse what they did to us, although it's difficult. You know, I'm talking about BRICS because it was an alternative to move away from Bretton Woods institutions, to borrow from them. You know, BRICS came as an alternative. Guess what happened? There was a regime change in all those countries that were part. It started in Brazil. Lula was taken out. They said he was corrupt. The Lula that is now back in government, because he was not corrupt. It was a propaganda to take this person out because they came up with an alternative to Bretton States institutions. So in India, those that were the first presidents to be part of the BRICS was also taken out. So they are very vocal. When you start to say you want to come as Africa, they come with divide and rule. I'm telling you, I was in Brazil going with the other ticket, not of the legislature. the time that Lula, they said he was corrupt. People were all over saying this man is not corrupt. It's because it's not implementing the issues of the West.
Yes.
Is not doing what they expect him to do. And the regime change, he was out. How many years he was out? All the time, if you read the history, all those vocal leaders that want to bring Africa, when our forebearers, when during the time of when we were colonized, their focus was to say it's a nation building, economic development. They were focused. But because of these conditional conditions that are being imposed, they end up following other direction that is not. That's why Professor Mkandawir was saying, no, Africa will never develop if we will follow this thing. Yeah. So regime change.
Any additions? I think this discussion is also now falling into the next part of our activity, where I want to discuss what do you think are the major impediments that can stop Africa from attaining Agenda 2060. And I think we've already mentioned the first point, the issue of these institutions and how they are trying to make sure that they keep on choking us with laws. So instead of using the money that we are creating to develop our countries, we are paying back those loans. And they are hefty loans. So this is point number one. Point number two, which other one can be a point, which can be a point number two? We are left with 10 minutes before we go into the other session on the connectivities.
Yeah. So, I'll take that point from the Chairperson says resources, but then I wanted to talk directly to the issue of debt.
Yes.
Yeah. Looking at the same strategy of the IMF, the same happens with the land.
Yes.
It's taken us some time, and it's still going to take us some time, because of those votes.
Yes.
Yeah, the issue of yes, I see changing a long time.
A lot, exactly.
Yeah, so it will really make it difficult for us to
achieve
those goals, because if you talk of the economy and independence of our people, we cannot really deal out the issue of land. Like we spoke to infrastructure development. Right now, the Chairperson made an example about when people visit South Africa or KwaZulu-Natal. We still welcome those areas like Devon, our metro to welcome us. But in the future, we want to welcome the Zambia
They should be an airport there.
Develop infrastructure. So I'm saying the issue of resources then.
I agree with on the issue of land, in the sense that the land is our economy, and our economy is the land. So if our people do not have the land, how then can we achieve economic development in Africa? Because we thrive on what we produce with our land and then we sell. So if the land is in the hands of the few, and the ordinary person doesn't have land, not only having land, but also getting financing, it's a different story. You might get land and not have financing for agriculture. Then that land becomes idle. So you might be given land and then you go to the bank, they don't finance you. It's the same thing. So issues, some of these structural issues like land and financing of land, they also need to be addressed if we are to achieve Agenda 2060. Any other points? Yes.
Last week we were doing an oversight in the health oversight. So we were Right now, I'm working to go and get it. And I said to myself while driving, because the area where you drove, and you will find nobody else except the farmlands. Just kilometers and kilometers. And I said to myself, I wonder if there is a motion way to say that all these farmers must submit their, what do you call this thing when you call the land? Title deeds. They must submit these title deeds and see exactly where did they get this land from. Because did they buy or get this land from? Because you find that there's land that it's still virgin, but it belongs to a farm.
Yes.
It's not even used,
Yes.
but it belongs to him. So it's just passing.
Yeah, I think those are some of the observations.
Rightful owners.
Because if it's vacant land, if it's vacant land and it's not being used,
Why is it kept there?
exactly.
Instead of
Why not? There are so many people who want land.
saying, because as parties sometimes we differ, others say that there's a competition,
Then it's compensation.
with compensation and others without. So, because we are here now, we have started with land. Maybe we can say, let's rephrase and say all the unused land. Angithi sophuma phela senza ama-audit ukuthi iyaba khona nje indawo ethize ayikaze isebenze. So yours will be that, but then we are using the one that we are not using, and we are taking it valid. Just rephrase. Maybe we have been doing it the wrong way, so we opposed each other.
Yes.
Maybe if we can come together and rephrase and say that all the unused land, we're taking it back.
There's one thing that talks about culture and identity.
Yes.
And sitting here where I'm seated, we are basically struggling in terms of the language that we are using. I think that's one of the things that we also need to look and find out a common ground for all of us as African countries in terms of the language that we are speaking. Because the language that we are struggling speaking, even in this room, all of us as Africans, is not the African language.
Yes.
Why don't we have the common language that binds all of us as the African people? I think when we talk of the strong cultural identity, that will be giving us that strong cultural identity that we need also to know and make sure that we also achieve that.
I think when you're talking about strong cultural identity, it reminds me what is currently happening in the World Cup in Qatar. A number of people are complaining on what Qatar is doing, banning people drinking alcohol and all that. That's their culture. They don't allow alcohol, but they've maintained that culture to the extent that they were even given the ticket to host the World Cup with their culture. We are complaining, but how many people are in the stadium? How many countries have traveled to Qatar? But it's working. So they've maintained their strong cultural identity. Whether exactly accept me as I don't accept alcohol in my backyard. So watch football, drinking coke, or water. That's fine. Yeah. And people are doing that. So why can we also not do the same if we want to develop and say we need to maintain our strong cultural identity in everything that we do and make sure that we achieve Agenda 2063. Any issue? Yes?
Difference. Because this is one of the things sometimes that we find is my colleague is saying, why not as an African have one language,
Yes.
African language,
Like Swahili.
that brings us together. That brings us together because we talk about unity. You know, sometimes we find because of not understanding some country, you know, or language. You see, so all these things, I think, is something that is going to provide. I was saying also the other thing that will make us not to reach this agenda 2063 is the fact that if the country, if all the continent, if the continent of Africa is still undermining or making women as subhuman, we are not going to achieve this agenda 2063 because the women are the majority in Africa. If we are the majority in the country, imagine if you will only take men and leave the majority not being part to develop, you know, the continent, involving to develop the continent by coming up with the ideas that will involve the majority of the people of Africa. I think this is some of the things that will reverse our gains that we are starting to develop Africa. But if we make women subhuman and also not involve them in the economy of the country and all other sectors of the countries, I think really we are not going to go.
I think it also speaks to, I don't know who said it was, we're involved women in poverty, but when it comes to women in development, we're excluded.
That's what I was saying.
It speaks that women need to be at the table. But for us to develop, to achieve this, women should be at the table.
Yes.
Making decisions. Exactly. Not to be at the periphery whereby men will just come and say, we've got this agenda, run with it. And women are made run.
The men must know that the power is unlimited.
Yes.
By putting the women in the center of development, does not mean that the men will be away.
They are
will
there.
not be cut.
They are just saying we're equal partners.
Yes, equal partners in the development of our country, of our country.
Any other points?
That mentality will take time to
That's why we say Agenda 2060.
the family thing.
Yeah.
Those who are having drivers, people remember having a driver, residents would have noticed to this. When they go to the garage, the station attendant immediately goes to the men's side. And then and the men's side will say, the bed, tell him to fill up.
Yes.
And then when he comes back with he goes to the man until the driver says, now go to the other side. And it takes him about a minute to think if really I must go to the other side.
Because he was already wired that the men should pay.
Yes, that's it. The money and the economy, I'm agreeing with you. The money and the economy is remains with the money.
When they see the big house, they say they don't die in the bedroom.
Yes.
Only to find that it's not in the hotel. It's a woman.
But and when they find that it's the house is of the woman,
And they will say that
the discussion goes with and say what?
they said no, I think
Yes, or he might be sleeping around and all that. They don't believe that. Exactly. So those are some of the issues, mentality that we need to deal with. Any other question? No question. No question for the presentation before we go into the, I think, last session, then lunch.
Colleagues, are we fine?
Are we fine?
To get the
The presentation.
we need to look at them because also it's not the last.
Yes.
We are going to continue because this work of the PAR is the work of us as parliamentarians that we need to share. So any questions for it before we close? Even the staff, they can ask the questions. We are allowed, we are all part of this. If there is anything that you need a clarity on, or you want to assist us, by contribution, you will also assist us to open mind and think of other places.
Any questions? Yes.
No, I don't have a question per se, but my comment is to say, from this presentation, the agenda 2063, and the question that you put on one, we think or we see as obstacles. It very often is one's mind. We might not brainstorm everything now, but going back to our constituencies, or
Yes.
to yourself, there are so many things that we can think of. Just now, Carlo mentioned the issue of culture. You can never leave out religion because from what we are seeing now, because of inkolo, whether in a family setup or in the community, so I'm saying there are so many.
Do you know that song that says, "It's on my Atela Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying we might not brainstorm it all, but it really triggers something in going back. We need
And it also helps in finding if you realize if there is any impediment, and you think this might be the cause of us not achieving Agenda 2063, and you are in the capacity of trying to remove that impediment, it's actually important that you address it because it might seem as if it's a small contribution, but you have done a lot in making sure that we achieve that aspiration. For instance, let's look at an example to do with a peaceful and secure Africa. You might have issues to do with peace that are affecting your location, your constituents. And you might think, it's just at a small level. But if you manage to resolve it and bring both fighting parties together and they resolve their issues amicably, you have contributed to aspiration 4. So let's not look at peace and security at a high level whereby people then go to Midrand and then our minister Naled Dupando has them signing like what they did for Ethiopia. They had to come all the way from Ethiopia to come and finalize and say we are now at peace in Midrand. Possibly they might have just spoken between the two of them and discussed and resolved their issues in Ethiopia without traveling all the way from Ethiopia to South Africa. So you can contribute to the agenda in different ways. The issue of culture, you can also contribute it within your communities. Emphasize in schools where you go to represent or to speak, emphasize the importance of culture. It's also very important. It comes in different ways. You might go to a school and kids are doing an act and all that they're focusing on is on white music, Western music. I say, why are you not singing our own cultural songs?
Yeah.
Yes. So culture speaks whatever. The heritage that we're talking about. On Heritage Day, let's emphasize the Heritage Day should be every day. Can't say it's only 1 year of the year where we have to say this Heritage Day. We should carry our heritage in every room, in every building that we enter. Chair was in Chicago. You should carry your heritage even in Chicago. People should be able to recognize that this one is an African. Right, I think we are done. Now let's focus on the last part. Let me just check if Dr. Paul is here before we start the last section. Last section. We're doing the last section. Yeah, that's the shape. Okay, my man has delay. No? May you kindly take notes for this section, and we can share. Is it okay?
Yeah, secondly, then.
And notes for this section, because it will help us in the planning process. Okay. So you can see on the program, we're saying question and answer in 2023 activity planning, recommendations and evaluation. What should we, through you, Chair, which one should we start with? The question and answer is already out because you've done that.
Yes.
Should we start with the recommendation and evaluations, or we start with any ideas for 2023 activity plans?
Say what that you want to see coming next. This one, because this one can't be done for once.
Yes.
When we are dealing with the issue of agenda 20. And also on the issue of the committee, like the one that is dealing with the gender, families, and youth, you know, vis-a-vis the multi-party women's caucus. We want to see how they work, how they complement each other, rather than working in silos whilst dealing with the issues effectively. I think some of the things that we want to see, the politics also will rely on them. If there is any other thing that we must see, but we have been focusing since we started. We have been focusing on the capacity building since we started. I think as one keep on requesting this and that for us to be empowered with it. Also, because you want so that you dog plans for us.
Yes.
Because what is outstanding is looking at the facts and it's Zim thing, and you know, because as we are saying, we want to be a force as multi-party women's caucus, coming together, being capacitated, so that where we are deployed, we make a difference. We make a difference. So knowledge is power. So without knowledge as women, we are not going to achieve what we want to achieve. Because it's not going to be good to say, no, men are not doing that. And what are we doing as women? Yeah, we know that the issue of women, as Tom was saying, is not the issue for only women, but it's a societal matter that all we need to attend to. So I will request if there are any other inputs. But I think also, Doc, you'll say something when it comes to other programs. So that also we have to choose to say which one must be a priority. Because your vision, Prof, to say that you want the whole African society to come together and address this thing and understand what we are doing, complement each other, not oppose or work inside those, because I want to be seen as chairperson of multi-party. I must bring other people. So this, because our objective is the same, is to make sure that all these treaties that have been signed by our governments, they are implemented. Where we see that there is no law that is covering that particular treaty, but it's an issue affecting women, because the what is this, the rules of the legislature, they are saying our mandate is to deal with the concerns and interests of women. So the concerns of women is our responsibility to deal with. Also, it continues to talk about the issue of capacity and the issue of development. And it further says that this committee also represents the legislature in the continent, in the continent, the parliamentarians in the continent, as well as international. That's the rules of the legislature. So that when you look at this thing also, it's in line with the saying the rules are saying the same. Yeah. So what we are doing to work with these parliamentarians in the past, also in line with our
any, so that's from what I took, the chairperson said should want us to further engage with the committee on family, gender, and whatever, so that they can also be able to do a workshop with the right? Also the multi-party focus for the financial impact. Right. And then number two, you also mentioned the issue about we should still pursue the Zim learning seminar. The Zim Zimbabwe, you still mentioned it. Yeah, she mentioned it, right? I was correct, right? Yeah.
We want to benchmark actually.
Yeah.
With the other structures, similar structures like ours.
Yeah.
We want to benchmark.
Okay.
So that we see where we're strong and where we are weak.
Exactly. So you mentioned that you want that to be pursued. I think on this one we have to agree on a date, and so that we can be able to quickly work on the logistics, so that we don't fall into the same pit that we fell last 2 months here when we are trying to organize it. So I think the best time to be planning about it is now, if it's for next year. Okay. Any other activity that or topics that you might want us to focus on? The chair is open. Yes.
Thank you. The chairperson.
Yes.
We really support this program.
Yes.
Obviously, as the country.
Yes.
And the budget.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think out loud of the ways of involving as much as possible the public, issue of public participation.
Yes.
On
this issue.
So that it is not only known by those who are being elected in various positions, but it is known and owned by
or you would want an activity that involves you members and the public.
Focusing on the aspiration rate, the
Yes.
issue of democracy.
Yes.
Obviously, you cannot have it fully without that particular aspect. They say even the people of the continent, they kind of own up
Exactly that.
Mama, a challenge, Babana. Yenzani yona this particular program and impacts thereof.
So you want the public. And you see the problem is, the question that I would have is how then can we then incorporate, because we'll be saying you as the representative would then go and cascade the information down to communities.
Yeah, what I think what Magdalena is trying to say, I think when we started this program, we said we want to be empowered.
Yes.
Because we found out that DDP can't go as far as down.
Yes.
So they will capacitate us so that we go back to our constituencies with the information we are having. So we are saying after this information, I think we can, as this collective, go after we have got information. We're talking with my colleague next to me saying that we can even make a workshop with the councillors, with the state, when we are empowered, to say, can you see this one? These are the treaty letters we signed. This is what is being pushed by the CAM, because we're talking about trying to work with them and also popularize the work that is being done. So you will get the information and go down and explain to our people going down, because you can't have a budget that goes down. We agree with that space. You are the family of Multiparty Women's Caucus, giving them capacity so that when they go to the legislature first, we will talk with confidence. Yes. Because we are sure of what we are talking about. When we go to the communities, also we talk with confidence. So that's what we want, because many a times when the women are supposed to be deployed in key positions, they say the capacity. We want to start where we are, raising issues where we are. So that when time for deployment comes, they are not saying, but what about the capacity? Because it's like capacity is something that is sold by those that have got money. Whereas capacity is for all of us. All of us. Those who have money and those who have. But you'll find that those that are poor like us may have a better knowledge on the things, but because we are not giving opportunity, we are being. So we want to really, but this thing will only happen when we as women unite, like those women of 1950s.
So the issue of community in our case is to look at the stakeholders that are influential in our communities. That's going to spread the gospel. Right? Through the sector. Not having easy reason ourselves, but the influential sectors that can be giving such information. So that's going to be shared with the level.
But if it is possible, we can hold the meetings together with the councillors, because they are councillors there. But what is our priority is what Honorable it's what the Honorable Chair of Chairs is saying. Our target actually must go to these sectors, all the sectors, that will also assist to broaden it. Like when we call the ministers of religion, and also women pastors, and also the wives of pastors, you just explain this thing to them. When they are in the church, they will preach about it and the gospel spreads. So I think this is the target that we must have, and in our communities, but starting also not leaving the councillors behind, because the constituency that they are working in is the constituency that we want to share the information.
Any other topic?
My friend, my friend, MD.
No, I think you've covered it all, Chair. Thanks.
Colleagues on this big table, why our that's it, right? Chair of Chairs. We have I think we can give it to the
Yes. Thank you very much for really participating actively, even under the circumstances that we had, having gone through a little bit of a situation with PAP, but I want to believe you found it useful and that you're going to support us as we build the next level of interaction with them, because I'm still going to bring them here. And of course, bring our colleagues from the African Union Commission that we've managed to get through, who are leading the Caucus's purposes within the African Union Commission, which I think it will be a great intervention. And through PAP, I've also been introduced to 3 other women caucuses from, one from the Republic of Gambia, the other one from the Republic of Nigeria, where I was, and then the Republic of Egypt. And I'm excited that when I say that, I'm trying to see if we can make that happen in our next year's conference, where we can have the representatives of these different countries and create this kind of a process where we can start linking the work that we are doing here and the work that they are doing, and also sharing experiences and things like that. The anticipation is that we can create at some stage a continental Pan-African Women Caucus capacity building initiative that we can spearhead through the relations we have. And so I'm thankful for your support throughout the year. We promised our funders that we would deliver 4 capacity buildings. We've done that. And I'm hoping that when they were here last week, the week before last week, there's a promise that they're going to fund this project next year. So I'm thankful again, because you made our work easier to get money to help us to do the capacity building initiatives. But even more importantly, we're also developing a research project around the work we're doing with parliamentary intervention. And very soon, meaning probably by February, I'll have some direction from where, I don't know whether you heard of this Interparliamentary Center for Studies based in UK. They're very interested in the work that we're doing here. And I'm informed that they're considering to create a partnership with us in terms of capacity building. And the good thing is that they are willing to do whatever they will do on their own budget. And so then we can add to what we have to make that possible. And I think it will add a lot of value. I've attended a few of their seminars, one of the seminars as a delegate and the other one as a presenter. And I found them very, very interesting in how they are responding to the issues on their end. Of course, the big one in Europe at the moment is the whole issue of migration management and the multilateralism. But they are willing to contextualize the conversations with what we're exploring here in Africa. And of course, they are interested in knowing more about the work we're doing, because apparently they don't have a very strong women-focused project within the IPU. So I'm exploring that as part of the work that I would like us to develop. And through these initiatives, new opportunities are rising up that I think will be beneficial for all of us, for us as an organization that is interested in this work, but also I hope for you too, and in terms of capacity building. In terms of DDP's work next year, one of the big areas of our work will be on voter education. As you know, we're preparing the citizenry for the 2024 elections. So at some stage, I would like to involve you where some of our constituencies can meet you in person. It wasn't surprising. Some of them have said they only knew that women caucus existed when DDP started doing this work. So it means there is a lot of public knowledge that is still missing up there. And I'm sure perhaps maybe you cannot be in all places at the same time. But I think we can use our constituencies and our events to bring you into our events, which I would like us to do so next year as we take this work in different parts of our province and see if we can be able to work with your partners in the different parts of our province where we're convening the voter education engagements with the local municipalities. And I think we've cascaded our work to the local municipalities in rural areas because they are very much underserved when it comes to information dissemination and capacity building. And so through this work, you've made us understand that there is actually a constituency that is always overlooked for some reason, and people do not think of interventions like this end up here in Durban. We want to take them right there into some of these areas where municipalities have opened the door for us, and we want to do that. So that would be one area we're focusing on. And then, of course, we continue doing our multi-party political cooperation capacity building, and we would like to involve you in that area. So we will share our annual program in the beginning of the year in terms of our capacity building, and you let us know where you feel which which event you think might add value to you, and when we plan with those municipalities, we plan with you in mind. Other than that, on behalf of my colleague Nyasha, who I want to thank him publicly, the child of the Multiparty, that is a new name, for holding this process very, very much ably throughout the year. What you need to know that Nyasha is also a very prolific writer. He has been writing a lot of research products out of his research on women and parliamentarians. If you go to our DDP website, under our programs, look at the parliamentary program, see his latest work. His latest work is very controversial. Is it a safe space? All right. Yes, because he's under lock and key. I told him we won't publish, but for the sake of you knowing, we have written through him in response to this month, which is trying to mobilize people again around curbing violence against women and children. We have written a research report through him on the violence against women parliamentarians within parliaments on our continent. We wanted to publish it, but we decided not to publish it. But I'm telling you, for the sake of you knowing, if you go to our website, go and find that and see what we have come up with. It will break your heart, but also hopefully inspire you from our own research of what we've discovered of what other women parliamentarians are suffering as far as gender harassment is concerned around our continent. And so these issues are real, but they have to be confronted, and we can do this together. So I want to thank him, because out of his research capabilities, he's also brought those kinds of things to understanding. And yeah, he deserves it. I'm really proud of him. And other pieces of work that is, we've also written around the role of women parliamentarians towards SDG accomplishment. That also we discovered within the continental arrangements that we've had. It's a conversation that is ongoing among women parliamentarians. What's the role of the women parliamentarians in helping countries to achieve SDGs? We have that report, again done by our child, and it's on our website. So please go and visit there. Very insightful research work that he's doing. And to add on top of that, hey, he has been accepted for a PhD program. So I'm replicating myself. So I'm so proud that within 2 or 3 years we'll have Dr. Nyasha. And yeah, I mean, is it not beautiful to have where we can always mentor others and inspire him? I'm really proud of him. And is now, but his PhD is not on women parliamentarians. Can you tell them?
My PhD is going to be on COVID-19. I'm going to focus on repressive governments in Africa and how they used COVID-19 as a way to further repress people in their country.
Isn't that beautiful? And so it's so very powerful. I'm so proud of him in that sense that also he's now stepping up to contribute to the body of knowledge worldwide through his research. And lastly but not least, we are also going to find somebody who's going to be writing on these issues in terms of women participation in parliament. So on that note, we would like to invite you for lunch. Please enjoy our hospitality and have a very safe festive season. And God willing, we'll be seeing each other in the beginning of the year at some stage probably before March, for our work together. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And also wishing you well to the work that you started, the one who PhD son. We hope that God will keep you and give you wisdom in the work you are doing. And we are very proud of you. And also encourage young people to continue with education. And I am hearing this honorable members here saying that also they want to register for their PhD. Although I'm not sure at the moment where we're going to focus, but we are going to focus. We are using focus to say which one are we focusing at when we are dealing with the others have to do masters. Because also I think it's important for us to further our education because now there is an opportunity for all. Sometimes we do it not because there is something that we are now expecting, because we want to encourage our children. We say that it's doable. Yes. It doesn't have age. So sometimes you register and they laugh at you. Sometimes when we are tired and say, "No, can you book in what you?" But it's important for all of us. Thank you very much for the support that we are giving. The partnership between BDP and Multiparty Women's Caucus in KwaZulu-Natal, we can see that it's going to be very strong. Unfortunately, our term of office is about to come to an end. Next year, I think we will be winding up. But the invite that you have given us to say that when you deal with the voter education, these women, where you will be going, we want to be part. Yes. Because this is how we can also promote women. Yes. Maybe make a topic and give to one of these women. Yes. Where we are and we share with our community. Yes. It will be very important for sometimes when they ask questions like others where I met with the young women, they were saying, how do you make it? You know, as women, because at home you must do 1, 2, 3. So we encourage them to say that you pay the time. Yes. That's supposed to be the time. It's not the time that you create itself for you. Yes. So you have to do that. Thank you very much. To Mr. Moore, I don't have enough words and I don't have enough words to appreciate the good work for promoting this community all the time. Other people are saying, "No, we saw you guys when you were in the Multiparty Women's Focus workshop." They say that it's through them and you DDP for your support. Like we are saying that also you are promoting this Multiparty. Yes. Because in some angles it was not known because we were like closing the legislature. Yes. We are not allowed to go out, but you made us to go out now to share with the other people that we have never shared the information. Thank you so much. God bless you. We want to see you next year, and that's why we wanted to close with this vibrant workshop. Because we want to, when they are going out with the spouses and the spouses, they remember us. They remember Agenda 2063 as you outlined and saying that this is a continuous engagement because we must really understand that. To my colleagues, thank you very much, colleagues, for coming. And today we are blessed by the chair of chairs. She usually being on the and we have got our support, share of shares. To everything that we are doing, we will be giving you a support. Any woman that starts something or gets a certain deployment, all of us, we must support that person. This is where our strength will be. So, yeah. No, she's not going to cry. This is my leader, actually. So thank you very much, colleagues. To the staff, please be safe. We love you. Continue with the good work you are doing. Gambela, without you, because we've got a lot of work is done. We think also the program that DDP is talking about, we must take them, we'll sit with you, we'll have a meeting and choose those that has been presented so that we are effective and we also see the other people, don't always commit alone. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So thank you to all those colleagues that are always here when we are having the capacity building. Since Africa noma she's always here. She's always here. She said, Mom, but she's here. So thank you very much for this. I think now we are going to have safe journey. More, please, during the holiday, you must relax. So that when we start next year, you are energetic, and you continue with the good work that you do for the legislature as well. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, when I was siyabonga kakhulu mawethu. Besizocela nje sicele dadewethu uMavuso asivalele ngokukhuleka because sibhale ngawo. Siyabonga nanokuthi
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Baba mese ukuthi Jesu Kristu namanje uNkulunkulu wethu simugcina wena. Siyabonga Nkosi ukuthi sigcinile ingozi njengezinto lezomphefumulo. Siyazi ukuthi usazohlenga namanje. Siyahamba emgwaqweni sisindise kukho konke. Sindisa nemindeni yethu nabafowethu nodadewethu. Siyaqhubeka nomsebenzi wesizwe. Sikwazi ukuhola isizwe ngendlela eyiyona. Siphele ukuhlakanipha kwenkosi Solomon. Sesiphole ngendlela eyiyo. Kulekelela abesifazane bafudumeza namakhaya. Bavikele ngekhathi zonke. Ngameni nofela kuJesu Kristu ngokuphela.
siyabonga kakhulu. This one is here. In the name of the Lord. Okay. Nasingazakubona ngake mamovement.